Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 244. I'm your host, Barney Smith of storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the acclaimed and celebrated comic book writer and owner of Diebold Comics, John Holland.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here. 244 episodes. That's a lot of episodes.
See, I tell you, ever since I got you back on 185, people just wanted to jump on the show because if they know John Holland was on, it's got to be a good place to be.
Yeah. I have that effect.
So this is convention season for you. You just started. You're now at a convention, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm in Atlanta. I just drove up here from New Orleans. I'm at Atlanta. I've got Houston coming up at the end of the month. I just did New Orleans not long ago. I did another one in Louisiana. I've been doing a convention almost every few weeks. So wow. I've got a few lined up still. I've got Houston coming up. I've got one in Memphis lined up. I can't. If I don't write it down, I can't remember it right now. So I think since the last time I talked to you, I've retired, so I'm not working anymore.
Oh, good.
So okay. I'm focusing all my time on trying to get this up and running and is standing on its own 2 feet. So it gives me a lot more time to hit conventions, but I didn't realize how exhausting, basically going from one convention to another. It gets pretty tiring.
Right. And so right now, what do you have on your table? What do you have on your table now? You have I'm sure you got your other ones, and you also probably have Alma on your table.
Actually, I'm sold out completely of Alma. The ones that we printed up before the Kickstarter, I'm sold out completely of Alma. I've got Robot Sex 1 and 2. I've got my Voodoo book. I've got Ayla, the 4 issues of Ayla. I have Marie Laveau. I have Joe Bushkin. Trying to think I have the Diebold comic itself. I have the Lizards, the 6 issues of the Lizards. I have my anthology, my short story collection. And I'm probably missing 1 or 2. Oh, and I've also got 2 Tons of Fury. Oh, and I actually only have 4 copies of A Girl and Her Dog left. I'm going to have to go back and reprint that. I've got 4 copies of that left. I've got 2 Tons of Fury, which is coming out from Antarctica Press next month, I think it is, which stars Batman and the Fat Fury.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on my table. Probably a few other things I'm not thinking of. So the table's pretty full. Table is pretty full of books. So hopefully we'll have a good convention. Atlanta. It's not a fan expo. It's Fan X convention. It's got some pretty big names, some pretty big actors. Voice actors, TV, movie actors, and some comic book people too. So it's a pretty good size. We just went set up, and it's in the Congress World Convention Center in downtown Atlanta. Okay. And it's 3 days, starts tomorrow, goes through Saturday and Sunday. So if you're in the Atlanta area, come out, see us. If you sign up for my email, you'll get a free copy of Marie Laveau.
Wow, cool. And so you have So things have been hopping for you since last time we talked, and you just recently put out your very first Kickstarter, which is about Alma. So I guess my question to you is, because you have all these different titles, what made you decide to have Alma be your first Kickstarter comic?
That was something I thought about, because I've got a few titles that I think could have been the first Kickstarter, but Alma, I've already got the next 2 issues written, so I want to get them drawn as quickly as possible. And I just, Alma really, was a book that was kind of special to me. I had that connection to my mom. Like I said, I named it after my mom. The character has a few personal traits of my mom. And I wanted to get that next, I've got the 2nd issue written. The artist did about 8 or 10 pages of it. I really wanted to get that out, get the 2nd issue done. And just because this is one of those comics I think could last for as long as I can keep writing it.
Right.
And that it was between that and Robot Sex, to be honest. And I figured I'd go with Alma, and then Robot Sex is going to get its time. I mean, it's going to do. I'm looking at doing because there's a lot of crowdfunding sites out there now. I'm talking to Zoop, and I like talking. What I've talked to Zoop is, Kickstarter is kind of like, you put your stuff on Kickstarter and it's all on you. They don't really.
Right.
I mean, they've got they'll answer questions or whatever, but you have to kind of figure it out yourself. Zoop gives you a lot of help. Zoop really talks to you, asks you, things and suggests things, and they're really they hold your hand as you kind of get into this crowdfunding site. So I'm talking to them about a project that I haven't even, it's completely brand new. So hopefully that's actually going to be coming out in the next month or two through Zoop, and we'll see how that does. I'm looking at Indiegogo, so I'm going to try them all, see which one fits best. I'll try Kickstarter again but Kickstarter is the biggest, it's the best known, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best fit for every project.
Right. Okay. So Zoop, this is exciting for those that are listening that are comic creators. Is this specific for comic creators?
I think so. But like I said, I like it because I send them you actually have to kind of send them an email and send them your project, and they have to approve it. They don't just accept everything. And then, they sent back talking about my email list, helping me build my email list. They sent me another thing about all this stuff that, I really need to try to get together before, we launch. Right. And all this. I kind of like the idea. Like I said, they're kind of holding my hand in a sense, kind of helping me, step into this, which is a little nicer than, Kickstarter was, it's not a lot to it, but sometimes it's a little overwhelming. And, I wasn't quite sure. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And, there's not a whole lot of people there to kind of tell you what's going on with it. But,
right.
So Zoop, I'm kind of excited about. In fact, because of their questions and some of the stuff, I think I'm going to be at least a month later getting the Kickstarter out than I thought, because I need to spend a little more time and get a few things better off before I just throw it out there and, and not succeed with it. And that's part of the problem with Alma. I just I think finally just wanted to get it up there. And there's things that I knew I probably should have worked on a little better, or, I didn't really have much of an email list, and I really need to get that built up.
Right. So I get my question to you as well, for those that might have missed earlier in their last summer when we talked, to make this an evergreen podcast for those that might be listening to this and will miss, and if they listen to this for a few months down the road and miss your Kickstarter, if they tell people what Alma is all about.
Alma is my best tagline that I've had for a book. It's basically, what if Buffy was a 72-year-old grandmother? And it's my easiest book to explain to people, because pretty much everybody knows who Buffy is. Even if you've never watched Buffy, you know who she is, because she's become like this almost iconic character. People know who she is. They've heard of it. So when I give them that description, it kind of piques their interest. And a lot of people, like I said, I printed 100 copies for the last summer convention season, and we're sold out of them, and the Kickstarter edition was going to be a little different, a little bigger, a little beefier. And regardless of what happens with the Kickstarter, we're going to put the book out. I may, like I said, I may go through Indiegogo. I may wait a month or two, or however long it takes, and try Kickstarter again, kind of using what I know now to refine it a little bit. Worst case scenario, I'll put it out myself. It's going to get out, because I feel I'm pretty passionate about this project. I think it's, a pretty strong series. Most people that have seen it and have read it have really liked it. And I want to get this out. I want to get the second issue out. I want to get this thing continued, so it's going to continue one way or the other. I'm going to get it out there.
For those that might be listening to this and say, shucks, I missed it, John. How could they buy a copy of Alma now, where would be the best place they could go to?
I don't have it up yet. Like I said, I think we were talking offline. My website's I'm migrating it from one site to another. But basically, if you go to dieboldcomics.com, if it's not up there yet, but it will be. And that's going to be the best place you'll be able to find it.
Okay.
In the future, hopefully I'll get that. We're working on getting the store put back up on it. And like I said, I'm getting ready to print some of the copies of Alma, regardless of what the Kickstarter does, so I can have them for the convention season coming up too. So, I'll have some Alma out within the next month, probably.
Talk to us a little bit about, putting this book together as well. How did you find your cover designers as well?
Most of them are friends, people that I know. There's a few that I met through Facebook. The one that you're looking at right there that's on the screen at the moment is by Javier Lapara, who actually was the artist for my comic Ayla, my Ayla comic.
Right.
And he and I worked together on a lot of stuff before. He did a cover. I've got a friend that was a couple friends locally that did covers. That one was by Kayla. She is I found on Facebook, and I really liked her art, and I got her to do a cover. So a lot of it was kind of that's Ted Wally. He's a local artist and writer, and he did one. That's Robbie Musso, who works for who's did some work on Transformers and works for Hasbro doing toy designs and stuff. And that's Hernan, who was the artist of the book, who did another cover for. He's done 3 covers for the first issue. He keeps just doing covers. So that last cover was the cover that's got the most response. I mean, people have seen that cover and have just really thought that was really a good cover. And I agree.
And so, as you say, you already have issue 2 written out and already have 8 pages into issue 2 already. Yes,
definitely. So that's why I was hoping with this was going to kind of help finance, getting the art finished and the printing for it. But, one way or another, it's going to get out. And then the 3rd issue I've already got. Actually, I don't have the 3rd issue. I wrote like the 4th or 5th issue. So I need to write the 3rd issue and then, kind of bridge that gap. So I was kind of getting excited and moving ahead a little too fast. No, I can see it as an ongoing series. The first 4 issues will kind of tell an arc, kind of close out. So if I can't go beyond that, I'll kind of have a story told there. I'm actually also talking to a mid-level publisher, indie publisher, has expressed some interest in Alma. So, even if the Kickstarter doesn't work, I may end up going through a publisher with it, besides myself. They've asked to look at it. They expressed an interest. That doesn't necessarily mean that, it's going to get published through them, but it could. And then they're kind of what I guess I consider like a mid-level indie publisher. They're like the next tier down from Image and Boom and some of those, but they're that next tier down, which could get me a lot more exposure because, they're in Diamond, a lot more eyes would get on the book if I go through them.
So talk to us a little bit about what other projects you've been working on lately as well.
I finished the 2nd issue of Robot Sex, and I will send you a link to it again. I thought I said, maybe I didn't send it to you. I thought I'd sent you one because I know you had liked the 1st issue so much. The 2nd issue is even crazier. I've got dinosaurs in it. I've got flying monkeys. It's pretty cool. And I'm getting ready to start the 3rd issue of that. I want to get that out. I've got a couple projects coming out through Antarctica Press. Actually, Antarctica Press is going to reprint Robot Sex. They're going to put it. They have a comic, Planet Comics, which is science fiction stories, and they're going to reprint it in Planet Comics. So that's kind of a plus, I think. That gets a lot more out there because Antarctica Press has been around pretty much forever, and they've got their pretty, I think, stable group of readers. I'm working with another company called Exile Studios. 3 projects with them that are pretty much written and just waiting on getting drawn. So hopefully that'll get done this summer, and we'll have some things coming that way. I've got a couple other projects that I'm working on that are just still in the beginning stages. I'd like to get the next issue of Lizards done. I got to get that written. My problem is I'm always thinking of a new project and starting something, and before I have a new artist or anything else with it, and then realizing, oh, this is just one more thing that I've got to now to try to finance.
So how do you? So I guess also too, as a comic book creator, as somebody that writes comics, how does the editing piece go for you?
That's before I didn't have very many people do it. I did a lot of it myself. Alma has been the worst comic I've ever done that has been proofread. I've had like 4 or 5 people proofread that comic, and every one of them, as one of them finishes it, the next one will read it and find more mistakes that somehow missed the first person. I have never had more mistakes in a comic book than Alma. But I think we finally got it fixed. I'm sure there's going to be something in it that we've missed, but I've got a couple people now that I'm going to be sending proofreading. I've got a friend in California. She was a comic book writer. She helped co-create PandaCon back in the day, and she was an English teacher. So she's my first proofreader, and then I've got a local guy who's going to be doing a lot of my lettering. He's proofreading it too. So I've got to be a little more careful about having it proofread, because sometimes I get too excited. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it out. It's done. Let's put it out. And then I was like, oh, why did I not see that mistake?
Because the challenge is like when you actually write for comic books is that somebody has to draw out everything. So you can't really make a mistake.
Yeah.
As the narration goes, because somebody's already spending hours and hours on.
Most of my mistakes are in like the spelling, or the last almost. I don't know how the artist and I both in one of the panels, the word balloons pointed to the wrong people. And we both missed it, Right. So, I've got to get a clearer set of eyes, I think, to glance over everything before I get ready to publish it and print it.
As you say, you found the artist, but how important is it to also have a good letterer when it comes to that as well?
A good letterer is very important. I have went through that a couple times. And even with Alma, I think the first version of Alma, I think we had a pretty decent letterer. I don't want to take anything away from him. I think the book, the lettering was good. I went with another letterer after we printed the first issue for the new issue, that when we reprint it or when it goes through the Kickstarter, it's been relettered. And he did a really awesome job on the lettering. The lettering is one of the things that you don't realize how important it is until you have bad lettering, and then when the lettering stands out and doesn't look right, it really, affects the whole book. The original letterer for Alma did a good job, but I think part of the issue we had with it was, and that was partly my fault, was I would put too much in a word balloon, and the second letterer knew where to like break that word balloon up, and kind of spread it out a little bit where it didn't look so full. And
right.
that made it really, it was more impactful the way it ended up. So, and he's a local guy too. So that makes it a lot easier too. So, it's easier to get together and go over things or whatever if we need to.
For those that are unfamiliar with your collected works, I'm making a safe guess and say Lizards is not, but are all your other comic book titles, are they part of the same shared universe?
Kind of. You're the first person to really notice that. I've kind of like dropped little hints. I'm not really big on like, oh, these characters are all, but I've dropped little like, oh, this person's mentioned something about this or whatever. So they're kind of tied together. It's not something that's really that strong, but I kind of like the idea of tying all this stuff together in a sense.
Yeah, with robot sex, that is such a fun, beautiful romp. I love the character designs you put in there. And I can't remember if you told us last time, but were you specific on how the character designs were going to look?
To an extent, I like to give the artist, a lot of freedom.
Right.
I kind of, pretty much my character designs were, it was a woman, and I don't remember how much I said about her, but and then and a robot, and I didn't go into a lot of description of it, and Roman came back with those designs that was just awesome. I mean, he just. He's got the little thing coming out of Laveau's hair, the little plug or whatever that, he just put all those little details in that just made the characters.
So how does Marie Laveau fit into your library?
That's actually, Marie Laveau is a real character from New Orleans, and the Voodoo Queen. And it's a character that I've been fascinated with, for years. And the comic is only an 8-page comic, and that's my comic I use to give away at conventions and stuff. I usually give that comic away free. And eventually, I'm going to write a longer story. I want to write a series or a graphic novel featuring Marie Laveau, because she's such a fascinating character, and she kind of ties into the background, like the main character in Robot Sex is named Laveau, and I'm kind of hinting that somewhere down the line that she's descended from Marie Laveau,
Right.
and I'm going to get a little more into and Robot Sex is one of those comics that originally it started out as a one shot. I was going to do just a one shot with it. I had the beginning, and the end, and I was like, okay, this is going to be. I got the first issue about halfway done and realized, no, it's got to go long. It's going to go at least 2 issues. And then I started the second issue, and then I realized, you know what? I like these characters too much, and I like the world I've created for them. That it's going to be open ended. I call this my saga, even though it's nothing like saga. It's it's nowhere near. But some reason I call this my saga. That this is going to be my continuing story about these characters in this world, and I could be doing this book for years if I can keep roaming on it and keep getting it financed and getting it printed. I mean, I love doing that book. It's just so much fun. Like I start doing it and I just start thinking of things, and I can, like I said, the second issue, I've got dinosaurs in it. I was like, you know what? I want to put dinosaurs in this. And I figured a way out. I was like, they're in it.
They're in it. And I love it how the robot talks in pictograms. Like
yes.
That's how they,
yeah. Sometimes it gets hard for me to figure out what to for him to say or how to say it. I'm like, okay, I can't put like a billion pictures in it because, Roman does the lettering on that as well as the art, and it'd be like he can't fit like all those little pictograms in a word balloon. So I try to pick something that will stand out or whatever. But that was when I created it. Some reason that just came to me. I was like, I don't want him to talk in like normal speech, or I don't want him to have some type of robot. I just want this to be really different and unique. I haven't really seen a character speak like this before. I'm sure in some comic out there someone has did it, and I may have even read it and it was back in my subconscious, but I just thought that was pretty cool.
You sold out of Alma at your conventions, and as you said, you're gonna have to print new ones then.
Yes, yeah. Now the Kickstarter, the original version of Alma was 24 pages. The Kickstarter is right now it's at least 44 pages. It may be 48.
Wow.
I did the 24 pages. I did a new 8-page story in it. We've got pinups from a bunch of different artists. We have a letter page. I solicited a lot of people. I hit up to write letters for it. And we have a 4-page Alma's cookbook, recipes by Alma.
Are those from?
They're from my mom. They're actually from my mom.
Wow.
So when I did the Kickstarter, Kickstarter, you can't sell a Kickstarter comic for $5 because Kickstarter, you've got to sell it for, we're selling the print version of Alma for $15. But I didn't want to I felt 24 pages for $15 is just not worth, it's not the value for it. So I wanted it to be as big and as thick as I could get it. So like I said, we wrote another 8-page story. which Hernan, the artist, said it's the best thing that he's seen that I've wrote. And I enjoyed writing it. It's kind of a little It's kind of a story. It tells the love story between Alma and her late husband. And I love letter pages, so I've got the letter page in it. We've got about probably 8 pages, 8 pinups in it. I thought the cookbook was just a kind of a cool little, different idea. So, it's going to end up being at least 44, 48 pages. So I felt a lot better selling a 48-page book for $15 than a 24-page book for $15.
No, that's a great idea too. As you say, it's you make it worth the effort for folks to actually pick it up. And 48 pages. That's a really good deal too.
Yeah, and the good thing is this book is done. I mean, I don't want to cast aspirations on other creators, but Kickstarter has had some issues where people just haven't finished the book. People pledge, they give their money, and I've pledged to some projects. I've got one project that's 10 years old, and I know I'm never going to see it. But this book is done. The only thing I have to do is basically get the letter page together, put it all in order, send it to the printer, and the book is done. So if it meets its goal, it's not going to be something that people are going to have to wait to get. As quick as I can get the book to the printer, the book printed, and then packaged up and shipped out, they'll have it in their hands. But that's why I kind of like the whole idea of having that first issue done before we even went on Kickstarter.
And as I say, it's an awesome story. That's really exciting that you're able to get this moving on having different covers and actually kind of bulking it out for like a Kickstarter exclusive as well. And as you mentioned before, for those that miss out on the Kickstarter, and they're more than welcome to, you do have dieboldcomics.com, which is a website, and they'll probably be able to hit the contact button, and you'll probably have your shop back up again on that too, right?
Yeah, yes, definitely. And we're going to, the first issue will be beyond just a Kickstarter. Once if the Kickstarter is funded and we get all those issues out, we'll keep that first issue in print, as long as we can. It's not going to be okay. Kickstarter's done. You're not going to see it again. It's going to continue to stay in print.
But listen, you got to come back on again, and once you have your next projects out.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed this. I enjoy talking to you. So, like I said, in the next couple months, I'm going to have something else out on. If it's not Kickstarter, something else. So, and this summer, I'm spreading out a little further because most of my conventions had been in the New Orleans, the South Louisiana area. Right now I'm in Atlanta. I've got a Houston show coming up. I've got a show in Florida in June, I think it is. I've got a show in Memphis. So I'm spreading out, a little further, a 6-8 hour drive, and then, probably start spreading a little further from that too eventually. So, because you can only sell the same comic to the same person so many times. And, when I do 10 shows in the New Orleans area, people were coming up to my table and are like, I already seen all these. Do you have nothing new? And I was like, I can't put that much stuff out that quick. So hopefully, getting out into seeing people that haven't seen it before will help a lot too.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks a lot, John. It was great talking to you again.
Thank you. I enjoyed these talks a whole lot.